21-year-old believed to have been behind hundreds of classified documents leaking online made his first appearance in federal court in Massachusetts today.
It's got a lot of people talking. Jack Teixeira has been charged with unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information and unauthorized removal of classified information. According to those court documents, he began posting that classified information to social media to the app Discord around December of 2022.
Those documents also say Teixeira had access to the files due to his job and that he's had top secret clearance since 2021.
Now, here to help us answer some of these burning questions that so many people have right now is Rocky Ruchkowski. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, as always, thanks for sharing your expertise with us. So first, we were talking during the commercial break. You have had this level of clearance before. Explain what it means to have that top secret clearance and what do you have access to when you have that?
Well, the top secret security clearance is usually on a need-to-know basis. And when you reach a certain level in the military, from your rank or your job position or your command structure, you would get that basically that security clearance. And to receive that security clearance, you go through a process which could last up to 8 to 9, maybe 10 months of filling out documents, letting people do interviews of people that have known you for the last 10 years, 5 years, your background. They do a full background check, a credit check, where you've lived before, do you pay your bills on time, what type of personality and what type of character you have. So I'm sure that this young man had that happen as well. But again, he's a young man. So his record didn't go back as far as mine did or others that have served in the military.
Of course, and that's something that's so startling about this. Someone like you who has such an extensive background, and this kid is basically, you know, any other young person. So a lot of people want to know, how could this possibly happen?
But Terrence, this isn't the first time. And what's so shocking about it is our nation allowed this to happen a second time in a row. Forget about what we know about Edward Snowden and the CIA. He was a civilian employee of the CIA. We have civilian employees of the Army, Navy, of the DOD. And we have obviously elected individuals that are read in as well with classified information. But in this situation, this wasn't the first time. The first time was recently Bradley Manning. Do you remember Bradley/Chelsea Manning, who was going through a transition while in the military, was a private first class, same rank as Jack Teixeira is, an airman first class in the Air National Guard. So an E3, a very low level position. He was 20, Bradley or Chelsea was 23, Jack was 21. And these people have obviously IT jobs, positions that they are allowed to do work on secret security clearances or on secret computers. But the information that was passed on to him was not in his job description. So I think, honestly, I think there's other people that will be falling along the chain of command that allowed him to have that access to information he should have never had.
So now the Pentagon says it's changing who has access to these daily briefs. Has that happened before, or is this something brand new in light of past leaks?
It actually has happened in the past, where the Pentagon does change its level of how much information it sends out. And what's interesting is the unit that he belonged to, the 102nd Information Management Squadron, which was part of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. Now, we do have National Guard and Reserve units that go on active duty, that support active duty units, and they train with active duty units. So if there is a wartime situation, they go and perform their jobs with the active duty and the same level. They are required to have the same level of training and physical fitness and so forth. But so he's basically in a unit that would have that type of information or would be working on maintaining information for global commanders and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So someone in that chain of command was reading that global brief and left it open or allowed him to have access to it, and that's how we had the leak. So I don't think he's the only shoe to fall.
Yeah, lots of disappointment here.
Yeah.
With Teixeira releasing this information on this app, a lot of people are also questioning what is there for him to gain. Do you think this is a power move just because he can release it?
No, I truly think that this was a big mistake, an immature young male that made a big mistake. And that's why you're seeing the charges today of 15 years and the charges, which are still pretty severe. Let's not, whitewash this. There's still very, very severe charges, Terrence. But the issue comes down to the maturity level. And if he did this like Edward Snowden, he'd be facing life in prison. But because there was no intent to harm the United States. This was bravado. This was showing off to his friends, and more immaturity of not really knowing what he had. That's why you saw the lesser charges of 15 years.
So there are reports that this kid Teixeira was isolated and lonely. You talked about accessing, getting that top secret clearance from the beginning. They're interviewing everyone you know. They're digging into your history. Does that continue once you have it? Are they still checking up on you and seeing what's going on in your life now that you still have this top secret clearance?
It depends on your position. If you're in the NSA, the National Security Council, if you're in the CIA, if your position requires it, absolutely. But in the Air National Guard, it's done periodically. For example, just to give you an idea, there are more individuals with top secret and secret security clearances under the age of 25 than there are over the age of 25, because our military is a war-fighting military, younger men and women serving, and at the same time officers, when you're an officer, no matter if you're an ensign or a lieutenant, in whatever branch you're in, you have to have a secret security clearance right off the bat. You're screened for that. As a young sergeant or an airman or a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, if you're working in those positions, you're probably going through a background check, but that background check is 5 years, every 10 years, or when it's renewed.
A lot can happen in that time period.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Rocky Rashkovsky, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your
Thank you.
expertise. We'll continue following this story.